Hi, guys. Thanks for coming to my talk. My name is Aleksander Piotrowski, and I'm here to talk about what new or other strange things one can find AndroidX package. Originally, it was called new, but then I checked dates, and some of the stuff is quite old, and it was only brand new to me, I guess. So I will talk about strange things, and again, most probably they are strange to me, and some of you may know those things already, but still, I hope that you will enjoy that. This slide is always a huge problem for me. Talk about myself. I'm struggling. I could say that I'm tech lead here or like team lead there, but truth to be told, I'm for the most of the time I'm just professional code monkey. I'm moving buttons around in activities. I spend most of my time in Jira, making sure that tickets have proper labels, and I'm implementing, I guess, yet another analytics SDK. So not that interesting, but that's me. Another thing is that I would love. But when I was younger, I just wanted to be senior engineer, senior tech lead, senior something. And truth to be told, now I'm 8 years old, and I would love to be like a bit younger, don't be senior. And I remember when my mom, she was like telling me, don't do this, you will hurt yourself. I must tell you guys, she was right. Maybe you don't feel it right now, but when you're going to be like around my age, then you will feel all those bruises, all this stuff that happened to you when you were a small kid. So that's another thing about me. And the last thing, I cannot say that I have a good eye for design or I'm passionate about coroutines. But there is actually one thing I now can say that I'm really passionate about, and that's StarCraft. It's a freaking awesome game, 20 years old now. Highly addictive, and you don't have to play StarCraft. Actually, I'm not playing. I tried, but I was so bad that not to lose the love for this game, I'm just watching StarCraft now. And then this is better than Netflix. There is a link here at the bottom of the slide. Don't go there because, like I said, highly addictive. But if you have time, then consider checking it out. Lots of games there, lots of professional players playing top-level StarCraft. Like I said, better than Netflix. Okay. We're going to talk here about AndroidX, and most of those points are just taken from AndroidX documentation, and it's just like, I guess, mandatory slide. What is AndroidX? Some of the stuff is quite obvious. AndroidX is an open source project, part of this JetBrains thing. It's a next version of a support library, which is kind of obvious as well at this point. But what's interesting here, and very often people forget or maybe are burned by their experiences with support library, AndroidX libraries are now decoupled, so you don't have to just import all of them. You just can pick whatever you want to use. And also, they are being like updated separately. So if one library is being updated, it doesn't mean that the others are also updated. So you can just update, let's say, Room and keep all the version of view models, or just update view models and keep all the version of Room library. So previously, it wasn't actually possible because there was like one big release of support library. Next version, all the libraries that were part of support library were updated at the same time. So now it's a bit easier. So actually, kudos to Google for doing that. So that's 4 points about AndroidX, pretty obvious stuff, I guess. And now let's talk about open source, because open source, at least for me, this is open source. So it's a project that is being developed on GitHub. I can open a PR there. I can file an issue and talk in comments and try to figure out what's the problem and maybe fix it. And actually, this is an open source project by Google, Material Components for Android, that's being developed by Google on GitHub, and also some other folks like from Uber or Video Labs, and even this Edric. Shout out to Edric for fixing something in Material Components. So this is, for me, a definition of open source project. AndroidX is also open source, but it's not that great in one regard because it's being developed using Google tools. So for me, it was really hard to find information about AndroidX because I had to go to their own googlesource.com, which is not that great compared to GitHub. There's this repo comment, which you have to use to fetch all this stuff, which is, I guess, just wrapper on top of Git, but still it's something extra you have to learn. All the issues are being reported to issues.tracker.google.com, and if you ever have a filed issue there, then you know that they are just like ignoring your issue, and then when new version of Android is being released, they batch close all the previous issues. That happened a lot to my issues. So when I see issues trackers.google, then I see, oh, okay, there is no point in filing a bug there. And the review is done using, I think, Google spreadsheet. Let me show you. So this is Android review.google source. I was told this is just Gerrit or something like a typical tool, but for me, it looks just like a spreadsheet. So compared to a pull request on GitHub, it's just not that great. But yeah, AndroidX is being developed using those tools, and I thought that, okay, so no one is contributing because it's just like one step extra you need to do, or maybe 3 steps extra you need to do to contribute. But I was surprised. Because some well-known folks are actually contributing to AndroidX. We have Siketi from Berlin, Zach, Ivan Tatarka of RetroLambda fame is contributing as well, some folks from Samsung and Snap. So I guess it's not that bad. It's not as great as GitHub, I guess, but then it's just, well, some different tools you have to use if you want to contribute. So that's a brief introduction to AndroidX and open source. And the next slide actually is going to be about documentation, which is always a problem for open source project. But in case of AndroidX, it's kind of great. So it's not only open source, but also there's lots of stuff being documented by Google. So you can go to AndroidX releases. So the first link, you will see all the versions that were released, all the alphas and betas as well. So you can see what's being released. And it was super helpful for me when I was preparing this presentation. And then for each and every package which is part of AndroidX, you can also go and see what versions of that package were released and what were changes there. So for instance, the last link is to go to LocalBroadcastManager, and you can go there and see all the releases. Okay, so now it's time to start picking some strange things that are in AndroidX package and see what they are doing. And honestly speaking, most of them are really not that useful, and maybe 2 of them are actually something that we can use today. But the rest of them is just cool things that well, Google is developing and wrapping around later for us to use in, let's say, high-level libraries like view models, which are actually part of AndroidX as well. Anyways, let's start with LocalBroadcastManager. If you are a fresh to Android developer or you are a Flutter developer, you might not know this because it's old school API. Well, back in the day, it was kind of useful, but today it's not that great. So LocalBroadcastManager is just broadcast manager emitting stuff, which has to be intent. So only things that can be parceled can be put there, or serialized, I believe. It's hard to say who is emitting this data and who is receiving this data. So old API, like from 2011, that was deprecated, I think, last year. It was part of support library, then it was moved over to AndroidX, and I'm happy to announce that since last year, actually, Google decided to deprecate and stop developing that. And now they suggest, please go use like some other approaches. And their suggestion is to go and use observable pattern. You can use LiveData for that. You can use Java. I believe you can use Flow as well. So it's more like a joke. It used to be there in AndroidX. Now it's, I think, still there in the repo, but then it's not being published anymore. And that's, in a way, one strange thing that you cannot find there anymore, but then it used to be there like last year. Old API deprecated at last. OK, next thing, VersionedParcelable. Anyone heard about this one? So there was one hand. So I Googled for VersionedParcelable, and you can find it on Stack Overflow when people are complaining that they cannot build project because of some problems with dependencies, and there is this VersionedParcelable being shown there by Gradle. So actually, this is what triggered me to see what is this VersionedParcelable. Parcelable, again, old Android API. We use, I guess, a parcelizer from Kotlin to do all this stuff nowadays. And out of sudden, Google is developing something which is, I guess, similar. Let's see how it looks like. So first of all, it previously was called SavedState. So that explains, well, I guess they want to do, because Parcelable is not that great API, it's easy to make mistakes. So I guess Google wanted to make it safer. Now they replaced safe with versioned, which is, I guess, cool change actually. It's being widely used by Google in AndroidX. More and more stuff is being moved over to VersionedParcelable, and I found one project on GitHub that was actually also moving over to VersionedParcelable, and this project was in Kotlin, which is a huge surprise to me. And there's another huge surprise because I think it doesn't work for them. They never checked this change, but we'll see in a second. So VersionedParcelable, previously called SavedParcelable, widely used by Google, and some folks are trying to use it as well. Let's see it in action. So this is not the VersionedParcelable, this is just parcelized from Kotlin. This is, I guess, most of us using Kotlin are doing to parcel stuff. It's still experimental, soon won't be, I believe, but then it's kind of stable. So this is what we are using nowadays. Now let's use VersionedParcelable and convert this user class to fields. Let's use VersionedParcelable to parcel this class. So more or less, we need to add some extra stuff, but the similar thing, right? So we put top-level annotation, VersionedParcelable. Those two extra parameters are not needed. I added them to make it look a bit more scary. That is more work is needed. Actually, also I will use those two features later to prove that actually it's kind of cool, this VersionedParcelable. Anyways, top-level annotation, all the fields, we need to mark them with parcel field, and there are numbers in there. I will talk about them later. And then in here I have to slap a JVM field, and the reason for that is I need those fields to actually be publicly available outside of this class. And this is because of how VersionedParcelable works. And of course, at the bottom, I need to extend the class. So it's a custom VersionedParcelable in this case. Previously, going back, I was just implementing parcelable. Now I'm extending custom VersionedParcelable. And I'm using custom, but you can also go with VersionedParcelable. If you go with custom, there are some more extra stuff you can do. I will show that later. But again, I use this here just to make it more look worse than parcelable. Anyways, you can skip custom. You just go with VersionedParcelable. But more or less the same thing like parcelizer. So how it looks in action, very much the same. So here, let's imagine that's my onCreate or like any other method in activity or fragment. I have two variables I want to parcelize. That's my user 1 and user 2. One is using parcelize, user 2 is using VersionedParcelable. Pretty obvious stuff, right? I just put something. The only thing I need to do with VersionedParcelable, actually, I need to convert that to parcelable. So there is this parcel utis, which is part of VersionedParcelable. So I need to parcel utis to parcelable, my VersionedParcelable, super hard to pronounce, by the way. And then that's it. And then to get it back, this is what I use. So of course, what I have inside of my extra, so there's a bundle, and inside of that bundle, I have parcelable. So I need to convert that back to VersionedParcelable, and there is this helper method, parcel utils from parcelable. So what you can see here is this is very much the same thing as parcelizer from Kotlin, but some extra work is needed. Well, there's also some extra stuff you can do, but then what the hell? Why they implemented that in 2019? Why is it really needed? So the truth to be told, when we compare both of them, there is a good use case for VersionedParcelable, and actually, again, this is something that most of us won't use it, but Google badly needs that API or like a helper. So most probably it's only for internal use. Why it's only for internal use? Well, first of all, AndroidX is in Java, so they cannot use parcelizer from Kotlin. So that's why they implemented that, because they still use Java. Also, I still use Java. Second thing, why it's only for internal use, and this is something that I was surprised that I had to actually copy this annotation processor from the AndroidX to my own repo, because this is not being published by Google. And I was surprised that the other GitHub project moved over to VersionedParcelable without adding this annotation processor, because without adding it, it actually doesn't work. So that's another, like I say, proof that it's only for internal use, because Google is not publishing this artifact. And also there's an issue being opened on Google Issue Tracker, but we know that they're ignoring those issues. That's why I want to ask them, guys, please publish this artifact, because it's badly needed to use VersionedParcelable. So anyways, it seems like it's only for internal use. Google is using that. We can, if we want, if we copy this VersionedParcelable annotation processor from AndroidX repo. And yeah, I think the answer why it's there, because Google is still using Java. And then for Java, it's great. There is also those two bullets, which basically is a commit message when the SavedParcelable, so the original name for VersionedParcelable, when SavedParcelable was introduced. So this is the commit message. And actually, in this commit message, there's a hint what we can use VersionedParcelable for. This one cool thing. So what VersionedParcelable can do, it can survive changes to our data structure. So if you ever used Parcelable, you know that you need to write strings and int all the primitive types in order, right? So there is this write to parcel method, and you need to write string, write int, and write string, let's say. And when recreating instance, you need read those values in the same order. You cannot skip. Even if you remove a field from your class, you still need to read that int, because maybe that int is inside of that data you parceled. So with VersionedParcelable, you really don't need to worry about that. So what I did was, so first of all, another cool thing you can do with VersionedParcelable is that this parcel utils can write your parcel to output stream. And this is a real problem. People are trying to write parcelables to files. You can Google that. You can check that on the Stack Overflow. There are lots of questions that people how to do it, and most of the answers like don't do it, use database. But then it seems like people really wants to do that, and you can easily do this with parcel utils because there is two helper methods, to output stream and from input stream. But obviously, if you have a user class with first and last name, you write this to file, and then you change your app. Let's say remove last name and add age. And then you want to read that parcel back again, there will be a problem because some fields won't be in the class and they will be in that parcel file on the disk. So what you can do with parcel utils, and this is, I think, power of parcel utils, is that you can add later and remove a field. In this case, I just removed last name and added age. You just set a parcel field to 3, and then parcel utils will just ignore that field last name, which was marked with 2, because now it's not being needed, and the age will have a default value, will be stored in the next version of data, if needed. So for those use cases, kind of useful. You can easily write parcelable data with version parcelable and parcel utils to disk, change data model later, upgrade your app, and don't be worried to read this data back again from the disk. And also, when you use this custom version parcelable, you have those two extra methods that will be called after parceling and before parceling. So that's something you can do also with this API. I'm not sure if it can be done with parcelable API. So, and this is the last class that is being generated, last thing for this, about this topic, the class that's being generated by this annotation processor. So it's kind of important. And so if you don't have this annotation processor, this class won't be generated for you, so that the whole thing won't work. So that's why I think it's only for internal use, because, like I said, it's not being, this annotation processor is not being published. All right, long story short, helper classes are designed to make parcelable fun and easy to use. Most probably not for us, because if you use Kotlin, then you need to use, well, it's better to use parcelize, and not for public use at this point, because there is this artifact, which I couldn't find on Maven. So yeah, that's the story. Next thing, emoji, which is, again, kind of old, and I will just quickly go over it just to show you one thing that I think kind of important nowadays. We had the 50th anniversary of Stonewall riots, so let me show you. First of all, if you want to go into detail, there is also a presentation about emojis, Compat by Florina, so I highly recommend it. It's a big library, part of AndroidX, lots of stuff in there. Documentation is kind of big, lots of classes. But the big thing behind Emoji Compat is that you can just add missing emoji to your application. On the left, old Android version. On the right, new Android version. And I don't have like those basic emojis like beer or family. You may say that you don't care about that because your users are not using emoji. You may say that you don't care about that because you are just targeting new Android versions. But keep in mind that new Android versions are bringing new emojis. And also, sometimes you don't care about what user is doing, but then you are consuming some APIs. And those APIs are there's data being like typed in by editors, and those editors can use emojis actually. So you never know if emoji will be there in the REST response you're getting from GitHub or any other like a backend service. So you should care about emojis. So it's fairly simple to use. I will quickly go over it, but to use emojis, and shame that I'm not using, and maybe some of you should and are not using as well, it's as easy as to use add this stuff to your Android manifest, because Emoji Compat is basically a leveraging trick of downloadable fonts. So you just need to state that you want to download a font, which is a specific font, not the color Emoji Compat, and then Google will do everything for you. They will fetch this font for you. You need to also add this to your application. So to trigger this font to be downloaded, it is something you just copy from documentation and no big deal. The download process can take some time. Initialization can take some time. So if your first screen of the app is using or is supposed to show emoji, you might add this register init callback to wait a bit for your app to start so that emojis will be available. But yeah, it's pretty simple change. So that's the second thing we need to change in your app. And lastly, this was my original layout file, so two text views with some emojis in there. And then all I need to do is convert that to emoji text view. And then I think that's the biggest problem, because I cannot imagine everyone just converting all the text views to emoji text views, and also keeping in mind that it's a bit slower than using regular text. So it doesn't make sense to convert all your text view to emoji text views, but a couple of them, it might make sense. Just convert those places when you consume data from backend and might have those emojis that you are maybe missing. So anyways, that like 3 steps, fairly simple, and hard to say if, well, any one of you using Emoji Compat? Yeah, so like I thought, like no one is using, but it's fairly simple, and maybe we should. And here's maybe why we should use it. So one thing is to add missing emoji, which is maybe not a big problem, but the second thing is actually do this. Convert this screen, which has both emojis, to this screen, which also have 2 emojis, but there is subtle difference here, and let me show you to it. So that's Android 7, and this is Android 9. So with Android 9, Google is becoming more inclusive. So this is a new, I think the proper name is genderless emoji family. So now, I think if you care about those things, you can leverage power of Emoji Compat to show all the latest, greatest emojis and be more inclusive as well, which is an important thing. Like I said, we have 50th anniversary, I think last week. So even if you don't care about having missing emojis, you can care about this one, and it's, well, cheap to have. In a way, 3 changes, and if you are scared to change all your text views to Emoji Compat text views, you can actually use this trick. Which, by the way, quick recap, Google is using downloadable font mechanism. You can add missing or replace. In the previous slide, I showed a replacing of existing Android 7 family emoji with new Android 9 family emoji, so you can do replacing as well if you want to. And there is a bunch of new widgets, which can be a problem changing all the layouts. It's hard to imagine to do that in the whole app. But you can do also use spannable. There is a custom spannable provided by, there's a helper class Emoji Compat, so you can take data that comes from a backend, do some processing there, and convert that text, like a string, into a char sequence, and basically add spannables and replace or add missing emojis. So you don't have to change all your text views. You can just do this in a use case when consuming data from the backend, and just return this as a spannable from your data layer or from your use case. So it can be done fairly simple. Well, and this is what Google agrees. It can be slow to initialize, so maybe it's not that great idea to convert all apps to use Emoji Compat. And the last thing, which is also a cool thing to check, Emojipedia, you can go there and check all the new emojis that are introduced in different Android versions. And also you can go, let's say, and compare green salad, which was changed most recently as well. So we have new family emoji, and also salad emoji was changed, now is vegan friendly. So you can go to see all the emojis and see how they would change across different Android versions, but also there are different platforms like Facebook or iOS. So that was Emoji Compat. Well, I hope that some of you will start using it, and at least now you know it's pretty simple to use. Next thing, and there is no excuse not to use this one, View Pager 2, which is freaking awesome. So this is my slide for this presentation I gave like a long time ago about View Pager 2, and I wanted to impress people that there's this new pager and it's so cool. And there was this like second bullet. I decided to not show it at first to impress everyone later how cool View Pager is. But now I think more people know that basically View Pager is basically recycle view. So what Google did, they just used recycle view, which is basically scrolling left, right, and top, bottom. And that crossed-out thing was vertical orientation support, which is, I guess, for free, because recycle view can scroll top, bottom, left, right. So View Pager 2 is basically a recycle view that was changed a bit or adapted a bit to have the similar API as a View Pager has, and it's super easy to use. And all the cool stuff that you expect to have from a View Pager is right there. All the cool things you can do with recycle view, you can. Some of them you can actually do because essentially recycle view is inside of a View Pager, because View Pager 2 is a view group that has inside a recycle view and layout manager. But that's covered with some top-level API on top of that, but still recycle view is in there. Some things like item decorator, you can add that to View Pager 2, like item decorator from recycle view API. So freaking awesome. I checked if anyone wanted to use vertical View Pager, and there are lots of questions and answers on Stack Overflow, and I wasn't sure why I would do that. Like onboarding screen, this is what I use View Pager for. So I just scroll left and right, and some people wanted to have this onboarding flow top level. I guess you could use recycle view for that. Anyways, people were trying to use View Pager to scroll it in a vertical orientation. I check on Stack Overflow, And by the way, there is another link to a cool presentation by Joe Birch about how it actually works inside ViewPager 2, I mean. Anyways, getting back to vertical ViewPager. So this is an answer from Stack Overflow, how to have a vertical ViewPager. It's kind of cute in a way, so you need to stop scrolling horizontally, obviously. Then you have to swap everything from horizontal to vertical, and this is kind of annoying. So instead of doing that, you can start using ViewPager 2 if you want to have vertical orientation, or you can start using ViewPager 2 because it's just freaking awesome. So how to convert your existing app into ViewPager 2? It's even simpler than Emoji Compat. By the way, before we even start, what's already supported? So what we need from a ViewPager? We need to have page snapping, right? Because I don't want to stop scrolling in the middle. I want to go to the next page, let's say onboarding flow. Well, it's being supported, and it's kind of simple because we have Pager Snap helper from Recycle View. And guess what? ViewPager 2 is using that helper to do page snapping. Quite cool. Fragments for pages. This is not something that is supported by a Recycle View by itself, but Google created Fragment State Adapter, which is, of course, Recycle View Adapter. And you can use the same this adapter to have fragments inside of ViewPager 2. Also, I guess you can use this adapter to have fragment inside of your existing Recycle View. Anyway, this is supported as well. It was supported in ViewPager 1. Now it's also supported in ViewPager 2. Scroll events. Well, on ViewPager, we have the scroll event. I just scrolled the next page, and I think there are some other, like altogether three events in the ViewPager API. Those same events are also available in ViewPager 2, and guess what? Just use it. Google is using Recycle View on Scroll Listener, and there's some logic on top of that. It wasn't really that hard to have ViewPager 1 API using just Recycle View with just on Scroll Listener. So that's supported, like plenty of other things are supported, and they are kind of simple, to be honest. Like transformations is just like one method, and you can transform things, which is freaking awesome. And the best thing is just Recycle View. So most of us most probably know Recycle View, so there is no surprise how to use it because it's Recycle View, essentially. Anyway, this is my sample app. There is onboarding screen. I scroll from right to left. There is next screen of onboarding. Obviously, get started at the bottom. You might notice that actually page indicator stopped working, and actually this page indicator was just looking for ViewPager 1 on the screen. So obviously, it doesn't work with ViewPager 2. So I think that's the biggest problem with ViewPager 2. Most of the page indicators, they are just looking for a ViewPager and trying to attach it themselves to ViewPager events to see if next page was shown. So that's, I think, the only thing that needs some more changes, those page indicators. But for the most of the part, changing from ViewPager 1 to ViewPager 2 is just like 3 changes. Let's see them. So that's my fragment. On the top, there is Pager Adapter. Let's imagine at first it was just like Pager Adapter for ViewPager 1. If I add lifecycle as second parameter, this is all I need to do and change in my fragment or activity to start using ViewPager 2. So ViewPager 2 adapter, it takes one extra parameter lifecycle, and that's it. So one change here. This is my original adapter for ViewPager 1. So this adapter that takes Fragment Manager, and then I'm, of course, using fragments, so I need to extend Fragment State Pager Adapter. I need to provide 3 methods, getCount, getItem, which is returning fragments, and getPageTitle, which I'm not using actually in this case, but I still need to implement this method. So 3 methods for original ViewPager 1 adapter. And this is ViewPager adapter for ViewPager 2, which is basically the same thing. Just one method is not needed for title, and then instead of getCount, I have getItemCount. Of course, you can see that the lifecycle comes as a parameter here and passing down that lifecycle to Fragment State Page Adapter. So that's the second change, fairly simple, and that's last change. So inside of my layout, I just need to change view to ViewPager 2. So of course, there's a fourth change, which I forgot, is basically you need to add another implementation line to your Bitgradle file. But it's very simple, and it just works. So I think it's kind of cute and nice hack, and some stuff is being fixed by Google and ViewPager 2. I have no idea what wasn't working in ViewPager 1, but seems like some things were broken, and Google are fixing those things while working on ViewPager 2. And change from one to another is just like 4 lines of code, and fairly simple, highly recommended, and I think that's the second useful thing from this presentation. ViewPager 2. Next thing, activity. AndroidX activity, yet another activity. On my side, actually, it's hidden from us. So if you use app.compat activity, actually, you're using this activity from AndroidX. So you don't have to worry about that. But there are also some other cool things inside of that package. Let's see what those things are. Component activity, so that's yet another activity. But like I said, you don't worry about that. That's hidden from us. We just use app.compat activity. And under the hood, fragment activity is using that new component activity. So that's one extra thing. On backpress dispatcher for handling on backpress in fragments. which is kind of cool, to be honest. And I imagine that it's solving some problems. I will show you how it works. There is SavedState registry. We'll talk about that later. And there is IMM leaks cleaner, which is, I think, cute. OK, so let's start with this cleaner. So this cleaner is being initialized like with this if statement. So it seems like for some time there was a leak inside of Android. Now it's being cleaned thanks to this cleaner. And I was surprised, actually, to see that it was like leaking for so long time. So I checked all those Android versions, and that's actually almost 2 years. So for 2 years, there was something inside of Android that was leaking. And then I remembered when I was using Leak Canary, there was those problems all over again that something is leaking in your application, and we were double checking. It wasn't actually your application, but that was this input method manager, I believe. That's IMMF, what it stands for. So yeah, I double checked. So that's this leak cleaner is actually cleaning up this issue. At some point in time, they disabled this warning inside of Leak Canary because there was no way to fix that, but now it's fixed. So it's, I think, cute thing on Google's side to do it. And by the way, they are using Lifecycle to do that. So it's also a new API to fix really old bug. And it's still there even today. I guess there are some users using Marshmallow even today. So that's one thing. We don't use it directly, but it's there for us to use it for free. Another thing is bug click handling inside of your fragment. So again, Google went to Stack Overflow. So this is, I think, one of the top answers there, how to handle bug press inside of your fragment. So first of all, we need to have a communication between activity and fragment, and obviously we need an interface for that. So there is an interface. Now our application needs to find a fragment that wants to pass this on bug press to. So application has on bug press. This is provided by framework. Then it's looking for some fragments. Maybe it's a fragment. You can find this fragment by ID. You can use all attached fragments wherever. You just look for fragments that implement that interface, and then you just call that method. And of course, all the fragments need to implement that method. I think that's top-level answer on Stack Overflow. And now you can do the same thing quite easily using this new tool from Google. So inside of my fragment, nothing to be done inside of activity because our activity is using this new component activity and everything is done there for us. So inside of our fragment, you just create this callback, on back pressed callback. This true there is to enable this callback immediately. You can set it to false and later enable it when something changed in your app, and then you won't enable this callback later. So it can be true, it can be false, and switch to true later. Inside of handle on back press, you do whatever you want to do. And then you register that like this. Require activity on back press, add callback, this callback. What's cool about this, there is no tight coupling between that because component activity using lifecycle to unregister our callback and eventually cancel it when activity is being destroyed. So you don't worry about unsubscribing or removing this callback. And the second cool thing is that if many fragments will just register this callback, only the last one will get this on back press called. So you can just like register lots of them and don't be worried that all of them at once will be called. So really nice API, and it's fairly simple to use. And again, it's everything done inside of a component activity for free for us to use. All right, SavedState. I think that's the coolest thing. I had no idea how to use it, and it was covered also on Google I/O 2019. And this is one more thing that was added into component activity. And I will show you how to use it. But first of all, I will show you how I use it at first, and then I will just like a wow moment for me to better understand why it should be used, and maybe not that, almost like VersionedParcelable thing. So SavedState, it's provided by component activity. It's a similar structure like, first of all, it's for to help us with saving and restoring state. You can do it all the time inside of activity or fragment, but there are two methods there, obviously, right? It's still there, but sometimes we use view models or presenters or any other tools, and it's not that easy to have this communication. And what is the state here? It can help us a bit with this, like decoupling those two methods from activity, so on save instance store state, sorry, and on a restore instance state, and don't force us to make any calls there inside of activities, but maybe use this save state to decouple this connection there. All right, so this is why it's for. First of all, similar pattern to lifecycle. So there is someone who is owner of this registry, and obviously fragments and activities are, and there is this registry itself, which owner has inside and can get access to all the people that are tools, like sort of components that are interested in getting access. So very similar to lifecycle owner and lifecycle. And fragments or activities are obviously owners of that registries. And the way to use it, and this is the first time I tried to use this API is more or less like this. It doesn't make that much sense. So I'm inside of my activity. I have my user with name and age. And then I want to store something. So I have this SavedState registry because it's provided by activity. And on that registry, there are two methods I can call. Register SavedState provider with a key, and consume restored state for key, which is below. Anyways, in the case of storing, I just call this method, I provide a key, and then when time comes, this method will be called, I will get a bundle, and I need to put my stuff into that bundle. Fairly simple, but this is not much different than just putting your own code inside of a on-saved instance state. The only difference is that you can do it wherever you want inside of activity or fragment, because anywhere there you have access to SavedState registry. So it doesn't have to be in the exact method. In other places, you can always call this method as well. The second thing is to restore. You just consume restored state for key, and then you will get a bundle, and from that bundle you can get some data. The problem, though, is that it's not that easy to call this method because it has to be called inside or after on restore instance state. So in my example, it really doesn't make sense like it's written. It's just like two methods that are there to be used, but then there is this last method that makes more sense actually. So you can register yourself. Please wake me when actually activity or fragment were recreated. So when actually there is some data for me to consume from a previous state. So you can register this on auto-created class, and this is how this class looks like. So basically what's going to happen is that Android will just calls this method on recreated. You'll get this owner there, and from that owner you can get registry, and from the registry you can get data. And at this time, you know that the activity and fragment were recreated, and you know at this time that this data is there for you to consume. So this is, I would say, kind of low-level API, really cute, but not really useful, to be honest. Well, maybe some of us are still writing code inside of activities, but most of us are using view models or presenters or high-level abstractions. But what Google did is actually they covered this with a factory that we can use, a view model factory that we can use with Google's view models from architectural components. And this is a really cool trick. So how it works. So this is my simple fragment. In that fragment, I have a view model, one view model, and then I have a view model provider, obviously, and I just get that view model from that provider. No big deal there, right? Inside, there's a next one is onCreateViewModel, so onCreateView method. Inside of the method, I just inflate layout, I set lifecycle owner, I set the view model, and I'm using data binding there, right? And of course, I just set up a click listener. So this is like fairly simple code. Please note that there is nothing in saved instance state, right? So very simple code. Without any notion of saving state, just like creating a view model and binding it to layout. Now, this is my view model. No big deal here. So I have a counter, which is a mutable LiveData. And then when I increase, I just increase this data, this value there. So this integer 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and so on. So it is almost as this Flutter sample app. There's a button, and I tap the button, and I just increase the value. And obviously, I can rotate screen, and nothing bad will happen. And then, of course, I can do one more thing. And let's talk about what's going to happen with this app. So first of all, this is my app. I tapped already 5 times. This button at the bottom, sorry, that is so small. Oh, hopefully you can see it. Then what I'm going to do now, I can rotate device, or I can put this app into the background, and also I can enable don't keep activities. Don't keep activities, of course, when I put my app into the background, I have just one last minute, so I will speed up things. So I can enable don't keep activities, which no one is doing, but very often our devices are killing our activities because running out of memory, or we are using latest, greatest Nokia devices or OnePlus devices, which are killing our activities anyway to have like awesome battery life. So you might not care about don't keep activities, but you care about the users using Nokia devices or OnePlus devices. Anyway, in my example, I clicked 5 times, I put app into the background, and I brought it back again from the background. With don't keep activities, I won't see 5, because my activity will be created from scratch, my view model will be created from scratch, I'm not saving state at all, so that won't be 5, that's going to be 0. So how to get 5, how to survive not only configuration change, but also our activity being killed, it's very simple. The only change we have to do is use SavedState view model factory, which take this, and this, keep in mind, is our fragment. And what is fragment? Fragment is owner of state registry. So what this SavedState view model factory is doing using using the API I showed you, so this new SavedState API, just to store all the data for us and give us the data back again. So my one view model changes a bit now. I'm getting this extra parameter as a constructor parameter, which is a SavedState handle. And inside of that SavedState handle, I can have LiveData. I can put some stuff like strings, integers. So in this case, it's even simpler for me because I'm just getting LiveData out of that SavedState. Immediately, that LiveData is being bind to my layout. Then I can tap my button. Immediately, I'm changing data inside of that LiveData. But I got that LiveData from SavedState handler, so I don't have to save anything. It's already saved for me at this point. And last slide, you can do the same thing with primitive type as well. So if you don't care about LiveData, you can also use the state handle to store integers and strings. And that was last slide. Sorry, no time for questions. Thank you.